Welcome to Dom's Corner, everybody. I am your host, Dom Martino, and we are here today to talk about Star Wars Rebels, a show created by Dave Filoni. Sitting with me here today is the only Mr. Ian Schick. Ian, how you doing today? Wonderful, wonderful. And
How you doing, buddy?
That's how I'm doing. So we're gonna talk about Star Wars Rebels Season 1 more specifically. But before we get started today, guys, please hit that like button below, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comments section, and share this with your friends who are also Star Wars nuts the way that we are. So that would be much appreciated. So thank you very much for joining once again. And I am excited to talk with Ian about this. I know Ian is a newcomer to this show in general. He has binged all 4 seasons of Rebels just recently, so I am excited to talk to him about this. Myself, personally, I went back and rewatched this first season within one day, so yeah, that happened. Ian was talking to me about it so much, I just couldn't wait to get back into it. So, Ian, I'm going to start with you, sir. How did you, first time you saw Star Wars Rebels Season 1, what was that like for you, sir?
I don't remember. I was drunk.
All right.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Um, okay, so my first impression of season one, I could definitely tell it was more geared towards children, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was watching it, I was just like, man, this kind of has like some Avatar: The Last Airbender vibes, and I'm like, I'm digging it. I'm digging it. Come to find out, same man who worked on that worked on
Right,
this. So
right.
I was just like, oh hell yeah, I'm about this. This is amazing. This is my field. I love this stuff.
Well,
So
yeah.
fantastic first impression. Love it. It's I haven't finished Clone Wars, the animated series yet, so I can't necessarily say this, but I feel like it's gonna stand that this is going to be, in my opinion, the best animated Star Wars. That's just me.
Okay. It's an interesting take. I was rewatching it because I was trying to figure out, after seeing the last season of Clone Wars, because it's the last animated Star Wars to come out, do I like this show better than Clone Wars? I gotta say, it's really hard, man. As a whole, probably, because as a whole, I feel like it's a very cohesive story that's driven forward. But Clone Wars, I think, is the one that does the better job at expanding the universe.
See, I can get that.
Mm-hmm. But it's just, there's a lot more filler in Clone Wars. It's a non-linear structure for the first 2.5 seasons, so it's a lot more difficult to get behind than this show. This show is, to me, a better entry point for new people or new fans who are making their first foray into the animated Star Wars world. This is the one I would recommend. Is definitely starting with Rebel Season 1 going through, and I think that it would inspire them to go back and watch Clone Wars. But this is, to me,
I mean, I feel like it inspired me to go back and watch Clone Wars.
yeah. One of the things I want to say about this season in particular is just the pilot. First of all, the first episode. It's one of the best television pilots I think I've ever seen after rewatching it. I can honestly say that because it sets up everything that you need to know right there and then. It's
Yeah, it's solid.
all the characters are there. It hooks you immediately. I don't know how it quite does it, but it does
It's
somehow.
a solid SmackDown. It's because it's quirky, man.
Yeah, it is.
It's quirky as all hell.
It's got the quirks, but then you got the stormtroopers. You got all these different elements of Star Wars that you already love. Like, if you weren't a fan that is interested in the stuff like the more the expansion of Star Wars, like all these other things, characters, some of the stuff we're seeing in Mandalorian now, this show is going to help you get you into that because it's definitely, it starts you with all the things you already know and love. And it starts in a time period that you're interested in immediately because it's, the startup of the rebellion. This is like right as the rebellion's kind of getting built. So it really makes a lot of sense to start there to get a lot of casual fans hooked, starting before A New Hope. I personally loved this season. I found it much easier to watch the second time around because there is a lot of filler. And one of the things I noticed, I don't know if you caught this, about the filler in this season, even when it's filler, it's expanding the universe. Like, there are always new things coming into
It
it.
has purpose.
Yeah.
It's not just there.
It not only expanding the universe, but building the
I mean,
chemistry between the characters, these main
Da-
four.
I feel like Dave sets up good boundaries for that. I mean, again, going back to Avatar: The Last Airbender, even the episodes that would be technically considered filler aren't even filler. Like they drive the story, and I feel like he does a fantastic job with stories like this.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. It's so clear he's worked on a TV show before. You know what I mean? When you get to this, like it's so clear he's already done Clone Wars, learned from a lot of those mistakes. Because again, Clone Wars is like it starts rough because you're watching it in this non-linear fashion. He's learned a lot from those mistakes, and he knows how to immediately give characters that are likable. You know, I mean, not that like because Clone Wars had Anakin and Obi-Wan in there, which you already know and like, but it's new versions of those characters. But you know, this really focuses in on a bunch of characters that are extremely new, and I think that Star Wars fans, if The Mandalorian's proved anything, or you know, let's take Rogue One even for an example that made $1 billion in the box office. Star Wars fans, we are thirsty for new characters, new stories, and this is
Expansion,
yeah.
expansion.
This
Hands
galaxy is
down.
massive, and Dave definitely that's something he learned and wanted to do, and I mean he learned that from George. In all honesty, that it's ever expanding, and you could do so many different things within it.
I feel like there's more history in Star Wars than there is in like actual history.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things in this season that I really liked as well. It was the episode where Ezra went into the Imperial Academy. I
Yes.
thought that was really really cool. That was kind of
I thought
them.
that wasn't in season two. Was that season
That's
one?
season one.
Okay.
And they they throw him in this Imperial Academy. He's kind of the rookie, but they use Ezra where he's needed. You know, they're nervous about having him on board, but they use him where he's needed.
Yeah.
And it's I think that's actually a really cool, interesting take, or it's a cool, interesting thing to build the chemistry with these characters. The one where another one that stands out to me is Ezra and Zeb when they go to get that fruit. I can't remember what it's called. That was a really
Um,
fun episode.
it starts with an M. Mama Moen, or I don't know, some crazy ass name where not Sandala is just like, yeah, they're not gonna be back for a while.
Yeah, I can't. I remember that because it's
Kanan's like, there's no, that's not native to this planet, and she's like, yeah, that's the point.
I liked the trooper. I think is like you did all this for fruit. You know, I thought that was really funny. Um,
Oh, at the very end, he's like, you did all of this for fruit?
yeah, it was cool how they stole a Tie Fighter, and like these are all episodes that people would consider filler in this season, and it's like it
It
is,
still
but
builds
they're a
because it all
lot of
comes
fun.
back together.
Yeah, the filler. The difference between the filler here and the filler in Clone Wars is like there's a lot of filler in Clone Wars that you're not going to be interested in everything because it is so expansive, and then the filler here it still sticks with the main characters. Sometimes you could have filler in Clone Wars that's going off on some random character somewhere else, and some of that is really good. Don't get me wrong, and it's great if you really want to learn about all that, but the filler here tends to always have your I guess main five if you include Chopper in the episode. So
I include Chopper wholeheartedly.
yeah, I love Chopper.
Chopper's the best character.
I love Chopper. Um,
I
and
feel like once you watch enough, you get to understand Chopper, and you love the sass. He
yeah,
is the sassiest character ever introduced, in my opinion.
yeah. A lot of people think that another thing I wanted to bring up is a lot of people really think that like the Jedi and the Force it becomes oversaturated in the canon and like that might actually be true. But this was actually, I thought it was a really good starting point to introduce us to a couple of Jedi that we never met before. Kanan obviously hiding out from Order 66. I love I think it's the second episode, or part two of the pilot where he's like,
Part two.
yeah, he's like, kid, I'm about to show everybody or reveal something to everybody. Like I thought that was cool, and he comes out and starts using the Force, and you're like, oh shit.
Oh yeah.
Like as
It's like
somebody
everybody's about to see the secret.
as somebody who's first watching this, you're like, oh, that's really really cool, and especially for myself back in 2015 or whatever when I was watching it because it was like it really gave me like some new,
Goosebumps almost.
yeah, and new Jedi to like really attach to, because I was really, excuse me, at the time when I started the show, I know your case was different, but when I started the show, I'd seen the
You
Force.
didn't know.
Well, I'd seen the Force Awakens of the new canon, and that was about it. So this was, my first expansion into new canon. And that's like, after Force Awakens, I was just really craving these like stories about some new Jedi and things like that.
I feel like they weren't too heavy on them being force savvy, and I like that.
They definitely
They they
weren't, and it
they
helps.
made them more. They made them more like just humanized,
Yes, I agree.
or something. I think they made it more relatable.
I agree, and especially I agree in this season. I think that the Force starts to take form later on a lot more, but I do agree. Like they set them
No, I
up
agree with that.
really well in this season. I love. Going back to the Imperial Academy too. I mean, one of the reasons I really enjoy that episode is because we hear Luke about wanting to go to the Imperial Academy, but we never really get to see the inside of that and what that all looks like. And it's pretty cool to see Ezra go in there, and
I wonder
uh,
if that's why Filoni touched base on that.
I'm sure. I'm sure it had to. I think he writes a lot of stuff that he's just always wanted to see on screen. I mean, and the Mandalorian episode today,
Oh yeah,
that latest one, because it's just
Ooh.
you could just tell that's who he is, even just based on that, because he definitely he wants to write things that's like it's all kind of based on things he's always wanted to see, but it's also like it's always inspired by things he's grown up on and stuff. Like there's a lot in this episode or in this season that's like very very samurai-esque, as well, in that he loves the samurai movies, Filoni, and he's definitely pulled that.
He also
Kanan,
loves his cowboy hat.
yes, he does love the cowboy hat. Kanan, when you think about Kanan, he's kind of modified, I guess, after a samurai. Like that is like his look.
Honestly, though, yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like all the Jedi though pretty much are
Yeah, that's true. To some degree.
some form of Japanese warrior.
That's true. That's true to some degree.
Even Sith.
Sith?
Yeah, even the Sith are kind
Oh,
of
the Sith.
yeah.
Yeah.
I said Seth at first, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah, that's another thing that's set up in this season really well is the not Sith necessarily, but the Inquisitors,
Yes.
because that's something a lot of people don't know about. If you read the Vader comics, they're in there, pretty hardcore, but that was set up incredibly well. I really thoroughly enjoyed the Inquisitors in this, and I one of the funnier moments is they're on that mission, and the lightsaber starts spinning, and can yours do that? He looks at Kanan, and Kanan's like, let's go. I thought that was really funny. Ezra's lightsaber, by the way, is something new that's being brought in, because that
Yes.
was one of the cooler moments when the blaster saber, I guess you can call it, was super
Okay,
cool.
so I'm gonna jump ahead a couple, like 2 seasons here. I'm very disappointed at the fact that they didn't continue with the blaster saber.
Yeah, they got
Just
rid of it. I don't know if it was to make the character seem more mature or what it was.
I think it was for maturity's sake, but I
Yeah,
feel like he could. I feel like with how innovative of an idea that was, that's awesome.
it was cool. Yeah, I don't know why they kind of it had to be, like I said, maturity's sake, but yeah, I don't know why they just canceled that and got rid of it, because so many people enjoyed that, and I think that at the
I think
very
that's the most unique lightsaber I've seen to date.
at the very least, Disney could have made a lot of money selling that as a toy, right? And I don't think they ever
Little
did.
Nerf
So
gun lightsaber.
yeah, that would have been cool. And they never followed through with it, so I don't think they ever really got around to making merchandise out of it. That was the other thing about Rebels, is a lot of people like the us that watch it, we're like, oh, this is some of the best Star Wars out there, but there's a lot of people that like us that don't really we can't really see the scale of how it actually did at the time, which was not very good, and especially in this first
No, it
season. Like,
wasn't.
not a lot of people were watching it. Number one, people had gripes about it was geared more toward children, and it seems less adult than Clone Wars for sure.
Wasn't it originally on Disney XD as
That
well?
was the other part of it, and you put that brand on there, and people just automatically think, "Oh, it's gonna suck," and that's not the case.
Plus, Disney XD is not very accessible. It's not something that's ever
No,
been really accessible to people.
no, that's true, but neither was, well, I guess Fox. I mean, like the original one, no, not Fox. Cartoon Network. I mean, was the
Really?
Clone Wars. I'm sorry, was Cartoon Network.
I
So
thought Cartoon Network was very easily accessible.
yeah, no. That's why I took it back. Like I was gonna
Oh,
say,
okay.
like I don't think, and then I thought about, it, I was like, well, no. Now that you mentioned it, it was probably more accessible than Disney XD.
Oh, heavily accessible. I mean,
Yeah,
like as long as you had like, I mean, like back when I was a kid, you have cable. Like back in Indiana, Channel 45 was your Cartoon Network.
yeah. You know what the other part about, like, I noticed this with Disney shows, their schedule when it comes to airing episodes is not like your typical scheduling. Like it's not like week to week. Like there will be a week that, and they'll market it very poorly, where they'll be like, "Hey, we're gonna have 2 special episodes this week, and you're gonna miss one," because we didn't market this well. So I feel like that's kind
I
of the
think they
other
just
problem.
expect people to know. They're like, use the Force, you'll know.
Right. I don't know what they're thinking, but this show, for whatever reason, didn't do well between marketing, between the branding, which I imagine, I understand why it was on Disney XD. I just feel like they should have marketed it better. And
Disney XD was just kind of a kerfluffle anyway. Like it was just there. Like they aired everything at strange times. Like I remember watching not I remember watching Disney XD to watch Digimon, and Digimon was all over the place. They
yeah,
would they'd play it like randomly.
yeah,
Like they had no set schedule for any of this stuff.
right,
And I think that was a big part. That was where a big mess came from.
yeah. The only question I would have for like people that didn't get into this is like, how in the hell after that part 2 of episode 1, when Obi-Wan shows up, you know what I mean, and puts and in the hologram,
Yeah.
and he's doing that like call for all Jedi, that are out there. Like, how did that not hook you though? Because it that to me is like the
They probably
moment.
weren't hooked from episode one. That's the problem.
Probably, but I think that I don't know, man. I think it again. After rewatching it, I personally think it's one of the best television pilots out there because it set
See,
everything up so well.
my friend Andy, he watched Clone Wars, and I've convinced him to now start watching Rebels.
Yeah,
Uh, and I told him to start watching Rebels because this whole Mandalorian series is all I'll say. This whole Mandalorian series, it does a great job of referencing Clone Wars and Rebels, and
yeah,
still building upon what the actual canon is in the movie. Well, that's all actually canon, but they like
yeah,
the films in general. It does a great job of building all that stuff up.
yeah.
It touches base.
That was another thing I wanted to mention too. Between Rebels and Clone Wars, I think another thing that turned people off with it was definitely the animation style, which I don't think is all that bad. If my personal take is that it's not all that bad.
I think
However,
at first it's off-putting.
well, yeah, if you look at Clone Wars obviously you could tell was more expensive. It's got that, widescreen look to it. It's obviously a more expensive show. It looks
Yeah.
better. I mean, I'll admit that 100%, especially that last season they did of Clone Wars. I mean, it was amazing when they, that one was done in 4K and it just looks incredible. But I don't think this looks bad for what it is. It is jarring at first because it doesn't look like the way they did everything else Star Wars wise, which is the really expensive wide shots, of everything. And this is full frame, obviously, and it doesn't look as good. Oh my gosh, you know what moment amazed me though about when I rewatched the first time you see Ezra use the Force is just so cool.
Oh yeah.
Because it really kind of comes out of nowhere, man. In a cool way, it's a surprise, and so it's a lot of fun.
See, I'm sorry, jumping ahead again, but all I gotta say is, like, I'm gonna play a favorite here. I think the second coolest character in this whole Star Wars legacy is Ahsoka Tano. And I want to point this out because we were just talking about Clone Wars.
Well, no, she's in the
She,
season, so
yeah,
at the
is
very
she?
end, yeah.
I thought she was in season 2.
No, the
That's
first
my
time
bad.
she's introduced is the very end. She shows up with Bail Organa, so you're allowed to talk about her here. That's
That
fine.
is true
Yeah.
because she was Fulcrum.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So she has the coolest arcs.
Yeah.
Legitimately. Like she's now like one of the most expanded on characters, and I appreciate that so much because she's literally seen it all at this point.
Yeah.
She's seen the Clone Wars, she's seen, the downfall, she's lived through it, she's watched the downfall of the Empire. She's in the process of doing whatever she's doing now, which I'm not very sure of, and I'm not gonna, touch base on just at this moment.
Right.
But I mean, like, she's such an expansive character, and
Yeah.
I'm honestly curious as to where she's at during the whole uh last of the Skywalker trilogy.
Yeah, me too. I mean, you hear her obviously talk to Rey at the end there. When all the Jedi are reaching out, you hear her say Rey.
I
But
don't think that necessarily means she's gone though.
we'll see. Dave likes to play around. I mean, he's been posting Instagram posts of Ahsoka lives and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see what that means.
See, oh, I mean, obviously. Well, when did he post that?
After Rise of Skywalker came out, like immediately after, he said he posted something that was like Ahsoka
When
lives or something.
they started Rise of Skywalker? When that was released like
Last year, December,
so Mandalorian was already out.
the first season. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm pretty positive they already planned for. I'm pretty positive.
Oh
They
yeah,
already
well
planned for Ahsoka at that point.
they'd had season 2 written at least by that point. So
So I think that's probably why he said that.
uh-huh.
But
Maybe.
at the same time, I mean, like, just because you can hear somebody's voice through the force doesn't mean that they're with the force, like
No,
in.
I guess it wouldn't have to. I just feel like that's the assumption. But she'd be.
Yeah, I don't want to go on a limb and say that she's not gone, but I feel like she might be.
I don't
But
know how her species ages, but like that would she'd be pretty damn old at that point. You would think.
yeah, we'll have to look into how that species ages
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like a lot of the times that we see her, she doesn't seem very old.
No. Yeah, next week. I can't wait for though
She
because
she
we're
just doesn't seem to age.
yeah next week I can't wait for because then we're gonna really be able to dive into Ahsoka on the season 2 discussion because that's got a lot of meat obviously in terms of
Oh
Ahsoka.
yeah,
I'll tell
I
you
don't.
though,
I
dude.
That's what I've been trying to avoid because I don't want to say anything
Yeah,
about what happens.
I'll tell you, dude. Though I'm serious because I think it's the one you'll like the most. If there's one of these canon novels that you read, make it the Ahsoka novel. It's unbelievable.
I feel like it'd probably be the only one I'd be able to sit down and actually read.
It's
Just because
easy
of
though.
Ahsoka.
It's definitely the quickest too, and it has. I mean, I'm not trying to say that you wouldn't read it otherwise. I'm just saying that of all the books, I think it made it easy because it's like I'm not trying to call myself dumb here or anything or at a low reading level because I read a lot of them, but like the words are like bigger. You know what I mean in there? Like so, it's like it takes up less time. I know that sounds funny, but like so, I think that you'd be able to. My point is, it's a really easy and quick read. I recommend it. It expands on the character
Stupid.
a lot, and it bridges the gap between Clone Wars and Rebels. So you see what's going on with her right before Rebels, how she
That's
became
fucking neat.
Fulcrum, which I love that aspect of this season, the Fulcrum aspect. I think that's pretty cool. With
Yeah,
her.
I liked the introduction of Fulcrum.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Um, I actually have a question for you after this that has to do with a certain agent that we are dealing with that goes by the name of Callus.
Callus is in this season, so we could talk about Callus.
Yeah, I know. I know he's in the season. I have a certain question about him after this because this has to do with like between season 3 and 4,
Oh, okay.
and I'm not gonna.
Just,
Well, that would have
just,
been.
just
I'm
fucking,
not gonna delve into that right
just
now.
fucking ask me real quick. I'll answer it.
Okay,
I want
so
to know. I'm curious now.
is Callus referenced in Rogue One?
Don't think so.
Okay, because I feel like Callus was literally just made just for Rebels, and I'm curious as to if he's referenced ever again. Like, is he still around for Mandalorian? Is this,
I
that,
want to
that,
say
this?
he's popped up in a couple of the comics, but other than that, I don't remember hearing his name.
I
Um,
feel like it'd be cool if we got introduced to him in Mandalorian.
yeah, he might show up. We'll see. He's out there. They
It's,
show it at the end in the epilogue. I know that's ahead, but they at the epilogue of Rebels they show him, right. So he's out there.
but I feel like he would have stuck with the rebels themselves. So I'm thinking maybe he died. You
No,
know.
he's with Zeb's people.
Oh wait,
Remember?
that's true. That's
It's
true.
possible.
I wonder if we'll touch base on Zeb's people. I didn't even think about that. The
The
Lasats.
Lasat, yeah, that's something I would like to um,
That would be
get
cool to
into.
touch base on.
Yeah, we might
Ooh,
see
and to
him.
see Zeb.
Yeah, that's what I like about this. The shows like this. I mean, in seasons like this, and then you compare it to what we're getting in Mandalorian, how it's expanded on all this stuff. It's like, to me, it anything's possible anymore. Like I think after the episode, you know what I'm
Oh
talking
yeah.
about. This latest
Oh,
one, anything is possible. It
I
showed it.
mean,
Yeah.
they made anything possible at the end of Rebels. Let's just point that out.
That's true. Yeah, but it just kept expanding, and it's like, yeah. So now I feel like anything's possible, and I mean, I'm in a point right now where I don't know if I've ever been this excited about Star Wars.
I feel like this is the pinnacle for me.
Yeah.
This is Star. But let's get back on track. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I think it's okay. I mean, because it's like he's in the season, so we could talk about him anyway. But
Yeah.
he's
But
he's a cool aspect of the season. I definitely think he was. I felt like from the very beginning, after rewatching it, that they humanized Callus quite a bit. Like
they
he's
do. I think the first episode or two, he's very annoying, but after that, he becomes like
right,
a likable character,
right.
even though he's bad.
I felt the same way. He was definitely he's very different than most of the Imperials that we see, because he's got this. I don't know, even right down to
He
his beard.
survives.
Even right down to his beard just makes him look like a bro, right? Like he's one of those. He looks like a dude. Like he's who he. I don't know. It gives him.
I'm not gonna lie,
Personality.
dude. Whenever he got pushed off the bridge, I was like, "Oh, this guy's gone." I was like, I called that, and then all of a sudden he's all on the bridge and kicks that stormtrooper off. I'm just like, "Oh,
Right.
okay, he's still around."
Yeah, that whole oh man, we got to dive into the Jedi Temple episode too, because that was awesome. When Ezra
Oh
has to
yeah,
go through the temple, and then he basically goes through this test, right? Like Yoda puts him through this test, which I thought was awesome. There, speaking of being able to talk through the Force, Yoda wasn't dead at this point, and he was talking to Ezra through the Force, right? So
that's kind of one of my points.
that kind of confirms
That's
your idea, I think.
But Yoda is also very, very, very powerful with the Force. So,
Yeah. Given
uh,
given they were in a Jedi temple, so it might be different. The rules might
yeah.
not apply the same, but
Well, okay. So by technicality, if we're gonna go to like Rise of Skywalker, and when she's hearing all those voices,
Exegol was like a
she's
force sensitive planet, right? Too.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's my point. Maybe yes, it was a Sith planet, but
Force sensitive. Right.
yes.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't the Jedi be able to speak to one another?
Yeah, and even when she's looking up into the or when she's looking out and you see the stars, it's the similar thing to what Ezra's seeing when Master Yoda's speaking to him.
And speaking of, I thought about something after playing Fallen Order. And also, I didn't even think about it like during the episode 8. But let's think about it like this. What if Ezra cut himself off from the Force?
It's possible. Yeah, I mean,
Maybe that's why Rey didn't hear his voice.
well, we have a lot more to think about now, I think, because let me just cut it off real quick and say this. Like, this is why I wanted to talk about the shows and why I was more excited to do it, because we can actually speak more on the implications it has on the overall lore. You know what I mean? And
Definitely Mandalorian.
We can dive into these discussions. Right, that's my point. This is why I was like, these I think the season discussions are going to be more fun than the movie discussions, because we can actually really have conversations about how it implies to it. But
I do have to say real quick, I'm glad that some of our theories were wrong, and that's the most I'll say.
yeah.
I'm glad that some of our theories were wrong. because I don't like being right about my theories. I want to be
Oh,
disproven.
of course, of course.
So that's all. I'll delve into it. Guys, go watch Mandalorian if you haven't.
Yeah.
If you haven't, you're a fucking nut.
Oh no, absolutely. And then what's gonna do? It's gonna make you want to just watch Rebels anyway if you haven't seen that either. So it
Yeah,
really
there's so much.
is.
I love the meme. I love the meme where it's like, um, it's supposed to be Back to the Future,
I know.
and
Yeah, that was funny.
it's like Ahsoka Tano. Oh, I've seen this one. How have you seen this? Oh, I've seen this one. It's a classic. How have you seen this one? It's brand new.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly how you feel though when you're kind of watching it and talking to people that haven't seen this stuff. It's like I don't want to call you a loser for not having seen it, but come on, what were you
You're a
doing?
fucking loser.
What were you doing when I was telling you all this? Like, look at Adam, and I know he's gonna get mad at me, but like,
Has he not? Has he not watched Rebels at all?
No, because all right. So I was talking to him on one of these episodes where
He
was
needs
like,
to watch it.
he was like, I told myself this year I'm gonna get around to watching this animated stuff, and I was like, okay, great, wonderful. And I was
Do
like,
it.
and what I told him is because I felt like he was never gonna get to it, right? And so I was like, watch the last 4 episodes of the Clone Wars because you got so much of that to get through, and then just go from there. And he's like, oh no, I'm gonna watch all 7 seasons. That was like 2 months ago. He hasn't put on 1 episode of that. And then
It's hard. It's hard to get through just because you have to skip all through these episodes just to get.
I think
So I do understand his.
I do.
His hesitance.
I know,
sorry.
but that's why I told him to watch the last 4 Clone Wars because I feel like if he
Even
did that,
just watch Rebels. Just watch Rebels, dude, and then watch Clone Wars. I mean, like,
pitched
I
that to
feel
him
like-
too, and he hasn't put on one.
I mean, look, we'll talk to him after this. And I'll be like, look, bro, I just watched Rebels, and then started watching Clone Wars. It made getting through Clone Wars easier.
Well,
Honestly,
I think
I feel like it's easier to get through Rebels before Clone Wars just because of the difference in animation.
I think he'll have more motivation after this Mandalorian episode, though. He's gonna have to, or he's gonna want to.
If he doesn't, I'm gonna go to California and smack the shit out of that boy.
Yeah, that was the other thing I suggested to him, Rebels, and he's like, "Okay, I'll do it." And here we are a month later. He has not put on 1 episode of it. It's like I don't care, but like that's why I suggested do the last 4 Clone Wars. You'll be motivated to go back and watch the rest of it, and it will. I knew it would probably help him with Mandalorian too, because there's like now we're getting real inside baseball. So there's like a lot of things that you're gonna want to know the history of. There's so much history there.
Yeah, I feel like I've missed a lot.
Yeah. But
but I feel like I also understand a lot too, so I'm glad there.
To bring it full circle, I mean, in Dave Filoni we trust, right? So that's what he does. This is he knows how to bring all
I
his
trust his
Star
cowboy
Wars.
hat more.
Right. That it must
Go
be.
on, go.
It's probably the hat that gives him the genius. That's why he wears it.
Probably,
I'm
bro.
assuming.
Shit.
I don't know. Unlike this hat that just gives me nothing. But this season of Rebels, man, it's the ending, which we kind of talked about Ahsoka a little bit. The Vader reveal was very cool at the end.
Oh, that Vader reveal was dark.
Yeah.
I loved how he was like, I feel cold. And then Vader shows up.
Right.
I love that implication of like when Vader's around, you feel him.
Yeah. And they managed to do something with
They
him.
did that again in Fallen Order too. I loved that.
Oh, they did, didn't they? That was cool.
They did.
One of the things like I loved about it, and something, and we'll get more into this obviously in the season 2 discussion, but something they did with Vader, later on was they took Vader and they kind of did a lot of what they've been doing with a lot of these characters inside of Mandalorian is they take him, but they don't make him the point of the show. They just kind of use him where he's needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They did a fantastic job of driving things and not making someone like Luke Skywalker a big deal to the driving point.
Right.
It was awesome being able to see Vader. I'm glad that I only saw him like a small handful of times throughout this whole series.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he was. I'm glad he was there. But I'm happy he wasn't like a big part because we saw Vader. I want to see other people. I want to see this first Inquisitor that Kanan ends up finally being able to kick his ass.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I'm not sure if you wanted to end the podcast off talking about that,
No.
but okay, cool. I'm gonna say because I want to get into that now. Because I feel like it was really cool that after the Inquisitor pretty much knocked Ezra off, Kanan's like, you should, you're gonna regret that. He's like, why? Because you have nothing left. You have nothing left to lose. He's like, no, I have nothing left to fear.
Oh yeah, that was cool. You're right. That was cool.
Because that's that implication of Jedi aren't supposed to have fear. They're supposed to be strong with themselves and stuff like that. But also, it does show that he got in touch just a little bit with the dark side.
Yeah.
If we're honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
Because he did let rage out.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And I feel like that's something that every Jedi always struggled with, and I feel like that showed it right there.
Yeah.
Though it did not make a point about it. I think it should have.
Yeah. Speaking of Kanan, I want to dive more into the characters too. Here that are being set up. After rewatching this, I don't know how. Personally, and this is my opinion, obviously, but I don't know how Sabine wasn't a favorite of mine in this first season, because I'll be honest, I wasn't that hot on her in the first season when I was watching it the first time around.
I don't think she was touched on as much as she should have been.
I think she was after rewatching it now, because then now I'm rewatching, I'm like, how did I not love her back then? Because she's awesome in that first season. She doesn't have obviously the big moments that she gets later in the big arcs, obviously.
Yeah.
But she is still very cool. I think the way that Tia Sakar voices her is cool. Like, she's got this very unique voice to her where she's, I don't know, it's just immediately cool. Like, I don't know. Yeah. And I like the whole thing between her and Hera, the tension between those two. Really cool stuff. They did a really good job.
I don't think there's a lot of tension.
There is.
Maybe I don't remember.
Yeah, it's toward the beginning they have some, and then eventually they work it out. But I just enjoyed that. And just the fact that Sabine's a Mandalorian alone makes her cool to me. That's pretty awesome, because
the Mandalorians are all dope.
Yeah, and she's not like a Mandalorian like we've seen in the past. She's got like her own style. She spray paints her armor. That's another thing I wanted to mention is like this show shows that, you know, it's not Mandalore versus Jedi anymore. It's not even necessarily like Sith versus Jedi. It's Rebels versus the Empire, and we don't care who joins this rebellion. Mandalorians, Jedi,
a friend is a friend.
Everybody's welcome at this point in the show, or in this point in the timeline.
Even potential fulcrums.
Yes, yes. You know, I mean, okay. I mean, I want to talk about Kanan too. I mean, Kanan. Another one of my favorites. I mean, Freddie Prinze Jr. does a phenomenal job voicing this character.
I think one of my favorite aspects is it shows he can get frustrated because he's still not a full knight.
Yeah.
I like that he's like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just here, dude.
He doesn't. He's got this like thing where I don't know, he's afraid to let his guard down around Ezra, but then we see him get with like Hera or something, and he's vulnerable.
Open.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's not even supposed to be because he's a Jedi.
Yeah, him and Ezra. Kanan on some level learns just as much from Ezra, you know, as Ezra learns from Kanan.
Which I feel like they touch base on that with the Yoda episode.
Yeah.
Him talking about, you know, you're gonna learn from everybody, but
yeah.
You just gotta open yourself up, and I feel like that's a good life lesson in itself.
Yeah. I mean, Hera, we can get into as well, because Hera I wasn't so hot on when I watched this season the first time. Still, I see why, because they don't really touch on Hera a whole lot here. I didn't really warm up to Hera until like season 3, especially when all the stuff goes down between like her.
Season 2,
Thrawn.
I started to warm up to her.
Okay, like when you start to meet her parents and all that, like that stuff gets very cool.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Her quite a bit.
But also that introduction of a certain character, who Josh seems to think is a hero.
Thrawn.
Yes, I didn't want to say his name.
I can't wait to get into that later on, because that stuff is pretty cool. There's a lot I could say about Thrawn. I mean, I'm trying to think of all the things that they kind of brought into this. This one is definitely the least expansive, but it's there to set up the
characters. Introductory.
It's to set up, yeah. But it also
introductory to characters and story.
Yeah, definitely. It tells you what this is going to be. Oh, we got to talk about the Empire Day episode too, where they go in and they like infiltrate the parade essentially, and
Oh,
with the
in Finding Ezra's house.
yeah, that was a very good episode,
Oh, that was
and
fantastic. That gave a lot of character.
you start to learn a lot more about Ezra and his parents and what had happened there, and yeah, that
I
was
like
awesome.
I like how they kind of left it back towards towards the end of the series, not like at the beginning.
Yeah,
I like how it's something that's like, we're gonna build you this character and then we're gonna give you the backstory. We're not just gonna give you the backstory up front. You gotta learn.
yeah, and it shows a lot of that stuff that Adam was talking about that he loved in Solo. I'm watching you, Adam. You better watch the show. But
Watch it.
the propaganda that he loves so much.
Oh yeah, that propaganda is amazing.
It's cool.
They did a fan. I feel like they did a way better job of it in this.
Yeah.
Than they
Oh,
did in
definitely,
Solo.
definitely. It's there for a split second in Solo. Here you see it all over. It's just anywhere they go, they have this propaganda, and they have.
Again,
Yeah,
Dave Filoni touching on the things we want to see.
it's true. And then
Adam.
Anyway, then we get into, I mean, this planet Lothal. People love this planet for some odd reason. They really love Lothal.
I feel like it's the simplicity.
Maybe it's a nice looking planet. I definitely enjoy the fact that they had that little section, where it's like, oh, Imperials run this, and like Ezra's not familiar with that part of it. It's a pretty cool planet though.
Yeah, I feel like I love that planet just because of how simplistic it is, and it's still pretty. It's still a pretty planet.
Very pretty, and I like the whole Wookiee storyline they have over there too. Like in the beginning, like that stuff is pretty cool
Yeah.
when they're trying to,
If only they'd start giving them subtitles, so we could understand the things they say and not have to have a fucking
right.
translator.
Then we could have a Wookiee movie or book at some point.
Exactly, bro. I'll watch a fucking primarily Wookiee movie,
Yeah.
or even show.
Yeah.
I'll read. I don't care.
Anything's possible now. That's how I feel. I really feel like anything is possible. It might happen.
I'm on top of the world. Hey,
Obviously, that one, the Wookiee thing is least likely, but anything's possible now.
it's been like what 40 years.
Since we had a Wookiee
They're
movie.
still no since they introduced Star Wars.
Yeah, and since we've had a Wookiee movie, if we're going to talk about the holiday special, because that's a Wookiee movie essentially.
I haven't seen the holiday special.
That's what you get when you want a Wookiee movie. They give you the Star Wars holiday special. Oh boy,
Those assholes. Is that really how it was?
yeah, pretty much. But diving into this again, Zeb.
Fucking
We kind of talked about Zeb a little bit, but like, yeah, Zeb is the comic relief in this first season for sure. Like,
I hated Zeb for the first 3 episodes.
oh yeah, you would, because he's such a dick in the first 3, and then when again it's the something Mayus, the fruit Maylu, something Maylu.
Mayloon.
No, it's something else. It's longer than that. There's more syllables.
I'm looking it up at this point because he references it so many fucking times.
Yeah.
Sergeant.
But yeah, once you get like him and Zeb or Ezra and Zeb start to connect more in that episode, it's just, you really start to like Zeb a lot more, and you're like, oh, he's going to be used for comic relief. I really like the Lasats, right? The Lasat, like, it's a cool species. I like that Zeb can just like hang from anything with his feet. That's an interesting aspect about his species. And I really... Maylu runs.
Maylu Run.
Yeah, that's
okay. Yeah, because he keeps calling himself
hit me.
Sergeant Maylu Run.
Yeah, that's right. Maylu Run. Yeah.
I like how that's referenced throughout the whole show.
It really is.
It's almost like the my cabbages guy.
Oh boy. Then what else are we missed? Chopper. I mean, we gotta talk about Chopper, one of the coolest droids to hit this.
So sassy.
He really is. He's R2D2. Like, let's be honest. Like, they couldn't use R2, so like Chopper is a proxy for R2. Like, that's
they proxied him, but they made him sassier than R2 is. R2 is sassy.
Don't get
me wrong.
It might just seem that way because they gave him arms.
No, I feel like they made him super sassy because like I feel like we have more time with him than we do R2D2,
Yeah,
and it's supposed to be a kids show, so they want the character to be likable. So I feel like making him sassy was the cool thing to do because then they didn't have to be because that motherfucker curses.
yeah,
He's talking shit the whole fucking time. So they had to make it like some kind of adult relief there.
yeah. Well, this one can walk up to R2 with his arms and go, "Up yours, blue boy." He can do
Pretty
that.
much.
Yeah. What
I
movie
just
was
feel like
that?
he's way
Can you name
sassier.
that real quick? Nothing to do with Star Wars, but that reference. Up yours, blue boy.
I'm brain dead, but it sounds familiar.
Big Fat Liar. Did you see that when you were a kid?
Oh my
Do you remember that
god.
movie?
I forgot all about that. Are
It's
you talking about whenever they dyed his hair all orange, even his eyebrows and like
and then
facial hair?
everything was
And
blue.
he's
His
all
skin was
blue.
blue. Yeah, he almost hits this old lady in the car or something, or the old lady almost hits him, and he starts yelling at her, and she's up yours, blue boy.
I remember that. That was great. I used to watch that movie all the time. I had it on DVD.
Oh yeah, me too.
I'm
Um,
surprised I couldn't remember that.
yeah. What are some of the highlight moments we're missing here in this season? I know there's like a couple that we're definitely missing.
Um,
I mean, they run into the Inquisitors a few times. It's not
yeah.
just once. It's like it's a few times, and like I think every time they do, it makes for a cool moment. Um,
I feel like for the most part we touched up on all the highlights. The rest of it's just kind of like there to help build.
what are the gripes? We should get into gripes because like not everything about the season is positive. I know we're kind of blowing smoke up its ass
This
at
is
the
just
moment.
kind of a gripe with the show itself. The animation's a little subpar.
Yeah,
Even I mean, like I would have even done well with 2D animation
yeah.
personally. Um, that's like the only real gripe I have with the show. Other than it's like kid oriented,
And
but I
yeah,
can live with that.
there's some cheesiness. Like if we're being completely honest, like there's definitely like some cheesiness that can get on, but no, I don't know because it's like it gets on your nerves and not too much. Like it's just once in a good while. There'll be like it's typically like a random side character that'll come up and say something cheesy or something. I can't pinpoint anything at the moment, but
No,
that's
I
typically
understand
where it
that.
comes from. It's not like it's
You get it like once every other episode
but
almost.
it's not like coming from the main character. So I feel like that like helps it. And
It's
again,
usually like stormtroopers, like, oh, you did all this for a fruit?
right.
That was cheesy. Let's be real, but
That
it
one
was a
was
good
funny. That
line.
was a funny cheese.
Yeah, that was a good line.
Sometimes you get
But
funny cheese, yeah. Um,
that's an example though. Like it's characters like that like don't have any real substance to the story. He's just a fucking stormtrooper.
yeah.
We're never gonna see that stormtrooper again that we know of, but we're never gonna see him again.
I felt like another thing I felt like, and I get it was the first season, but like the season because there was so much filler in there anyway, that maybe it could have just been longer. Like we could have gotten like 5 more out of it, maybe. Um, that's another thing. Like, cause there was filler in there anyway, so you might as well
Yeah,
do like 5 more filler episodes. Not that it's needed. It's just like if we're gonna have filler, why not just make more? You know. Um,
I don't know. I feel like the length of that season was perfect. I don't think
it
it needed
wasn't
any
bad.
more.
It's not bad. Like I understand. Like I think it worked and it did its job. Don't get me wrong, but I just feel like it. You know, if Dave wants to make filler, you should have made maybe a few more. I mean, come on though. Yeah, you say that, but like if somebody was like, "Hey, we have 5 episodes that were supposed to go in season 1, and we're gonna put them out," you're gonna watch them.
I
You know.
think my two main gripes with this are how much they don't touch on Sabine and Hera. I feel like they should have touched more on them.
Hera for sure. I'm telling
Yeah,
you, after
yeah.
my second watch, like I think they did pretty well with Sabine in the first season.
They did decent in my opinion.
Okay.
I don't think they did very well. I
Yeah.
think they did decent. I think because of this being introductory, we should have had connection to those characters in the first place.
Yeah, maybe.
Especially since they're supposed to be a big part of the crew.
Obviously they weren't doing something right with them because like I didn't get attached in the first season to Sabine, but I'm saying I after I rewatched it I'm sitting there like how did I not get attached? But maybe it's because I know more about her now that I'm just like more
I
attached to
think that
it.
might be it.
It's
Because
possible.
I really don't think they touch base on her enough.
Hmm. I I don't know. Yeah, it's
Dom, it's okay. Just come out and say you have a crush on Sabine.
um no. But the next thing I was gonna say here, and this is one of my gripes, and it's a weird one, but Ezra's slingshot annoyed me. Like I know it was supposed to be the
I agree.
is kind of proxy weapon until he got the lightsaber, but I feel like they could have come up with something better than that. Like, it just annoyed me every time he was, like, when they were going up against the Inquisitor and he's just sitting there hitting it with a slingshot. It's like it went on way too long, and it's like, obviously that's not doing anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I found that to be annoying. Like,
I mean, give him like a little stun laser or some
yeah,
shit.
it could be cool. Like, it could be. I could see it potentially being used in Star Wars, something like that, and work well.
Ewoks using it would be fantastic.
But it was just the way that he kept slinging it. Like, he just does it over and over and over again, and it's like it was so irritating. It's like, kid, stop. It's not doing any good. Like, it never did. I don't think it might have worked once or twice, but
once.
Yeah.
I don't recall it doing anything other than once, and it was just because it was something that caught them off guard.
Yeah.
Once.
That was honestly, it's weird to me, but that might have been the most irritating part about the season, which might be a good thing that that's the most irritating part, you know, because I think that says a lot about it.
I think those are the only gripes I have about the show.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of gripes to this show whatsoever. Like, even like, I feel like the only gripes I have are first season.
Yeah.
And it's just the fact that they didn't touch enough on Hera and they didn't touch enough on Sabine.
Yeah, definitely.
I really feel like Sabine was touched on, yes, but I don't think she was touched on enough. Like, we got more Kanan, Zeb, even somewhat Chopper. Not really much Chopper. They should touch more on Chopper too, but him being a droid, I'm not as worried about it. Yeah. Not to say droids aren't important. I feel like droids are a huge important part to honestly, like, even just Jedi. I feel like Jedi and droids just get along very, very well.
I'm laughing because the droid in season 3 that goes flying through space and he starts singing that song that cracked me up.
Yes,
we'll talk about that then.
And he's like, no. Okay, go on.
Do you remember the song where he's starting to sing it?
I don't remember.
Okay, because that was funny. It was so out of left field. It was like, okay, that is some real cheese, but. Good for them.
It kind of made me cringe, but it was
like,
funny.
I was like, good for them though, because that droid is so funny throughout it anyway. That third season, so it's like I like
how much shit he talks without trying to talk shit.
Yeah, and then when he starts singing, it's like, okay, he is the only character that can pull this off. Nobody else like can do that. Can go floating through space and start singing a song. Like, no other droid can do that. But yeah, man. I mean, Rebels. Season 1, for those of you who haven't seen it, it's something that I highly recommend. I mean, Ian, I'm glad you finally got around to seeing this. I mean, it's.
I'm glad I did too. I feel like it was just us watching Star Wars in general. I was just like, I'm craving more.
Yeah, it makes you thirsty, man. Especially when you start to discuss it and stuff on these podcasts. And it's just like, yeah, it definitely makes you more thirsty for more content. And yeah, man, and it's just the shit's getting real now, you know? Like, we're at this, like you said, the pinnacle. I feel like.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's just going to get better. It's like only going to go up from here. I mean, we have the right people and head of creative at this point that I feel like it can't get any worse. I mean, it's
they keep peaking. And then you're like, oh, this it's going to be kind of like right. This is going to be kind of like stationary from here on out.
Yeah.
But then they're like, here's the peak, and here's another peak, here's another peak, and here's another peak, here's another peak.
Yeah. It's like, okay, y'all, I get it. The fan base was in a bad area for a while, but we're getting back there. We're getting back, folks.
I have a friend who absolutely refuses to watch any of it just because of it being Disney.
It's
legit.
Disney's not. They're taking care of it now. I promise. Like, that is something
I mean, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I feel like they've done a fantastic job.
You know what the problem was? And this is a tangent, obviously, off of the subject of the episode, but I think it's important to say, is like, you know, I get it. I mean, they went in. I'm not going to sit here and blatantly say they had no plan. Obviously, I wasn't in the boardrooms and all that kind of stuff. But I think there was some kind of a plan. But I think that their plan was just only focused on Rey and Kylo Ren. And I don't think it was focused on much more. And what they didn't understand when they bought this property, and I think everybody's got to step back and say, shit, if I just bought Star Wars, what would I do with it? You know, because you don't really know. Like,
there's no way in hell I would know.
Right. And I think everybody's got to look at it objectively. And I think that, you know, they were like, they hired Dave Filoni to make a children's show because that's what he's good at. And they were thinking, okay, Dave, you make children's shows because that is what you're good at, and you do it. And it's not like, or not, maybe not even children's shows, but family shows, because that's what you're good at. So you take care
Let's
of
be
that.
honest. I want to point something out. With this latest episode of Mandalorian, I think he proved that he can do more than family
Oh,
shows.
I'm gonna get into that. I
Okay,
was gonna
okay.
bring it into that.
Okay,
But
okay. I'm sorry. Go
I'm
ahead.
saying at first though, I think that's what they did. They were like, okay, and then we're gonna let's get like, who's the biggest, hottest sci-fi filmmaker out there right now? Well, JJ just did Star Trek. We're gonna make him do Force Awakens. Who's another hot director right now? Who's up and coming? Who's real ballsy? We're gonna get Ryan Johnson. He's gonna do his own thing, and then we're gonna get Colin Trevorrow, who's also pretty ballsy, and he's gonna we're gonna take this to the next level. But the problem was with all that is that they did that without a solid plan of
Idea.
how the stories were gonna play, because the thing is like, yes, they created two great characters in Rey and Kylo Ren. I believe that 100%. But the problem is that was their only focus, and they were so scared that if they brought in a lot of this inside baseball stuff, that fans were not going to get it. They weren't going to be thirsty for it. Somehow they went ahead and took a risk on Rogue One just to kind of test the waters, and it worked. And
Rogue One was phenomenal.
I think it was right around there that they started to do what I would say course correction. I love the movie Ryan made, and I agree it was ballsy. But the problem with that is it's just not what everybody wanted, right? I mean, it's not that you have to be fan servicey, but when you're playing with the Skywalker saga and you're playing with the Skywalker characters and you're making these very bold decisions with them, yeah, it's gonna piss a lot of people off. Let's be honest. And
I feel like a lot of people griped about the prequel
yeah,
trilogy way more than they should have. Just getting into that right now, just because of it not being Luke.
maybe that's a different discussion we can get into as well. But the one thing I'll say about the prequels too is that it has a lot of inside baseball stuff in there, and it made money. And it wasn't like, I don't love those movies, but it made money. But the sequels, with Ryan Johnson he was tasked to play with the Skywalker characters and take risks. I guarantee you, if he's so talented. If he did a episode of Mandalorian, everybody would think it was one of the best ones. Guarantee it, because he is that talented. But he's making bold
As long
decisions.
as he doesn't show Rose.
He wouldn't. But he's making bold decisions that don't have to do with the Skywalkers, right? He's making Ryan Johnson stuff. Like, if he did an episode of The Mandalorian, it'd be one of the best ones. I guarantee that. I would put $100 down on that. But my point is
Go on.
they bring JJ back, and the problem there is yes, he made a fantastic movie, if you ask me, but it was okay, now we're gonna get comfortable again, and all the things that the fans want, let's just give it to them because they're crying. It's like they're whiny babies now, and we got to give them their I'm sorry to everybody who complained about it, but it's true. It's we got to give them their binky, and they're gonna have to suck on that, and that's what Rise of Skywalker was. I swear to God, man, they really underestimated what Filoni was doing over here. But they are so damn lucky that he was over here making moves.
Oh my god.
They are so lucky.
Okay, it turned off.
That
Yeah.
he was over here making the moves that he was, because that became their future, I think. And Star Wars on TV, to me, is the only way. You can do movies, and I'll still go see them. Don't get me wrong, but
Do side movies, kind of like what anime does. Anime will do side movies that do have something to do with the story, but it's not the main point.
mm-hmm.
My Hero Academia, they're doing movies that are on the side, and they do have something to do with the story.
Yeah.
But it's not anything that drives the story heavily.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's still entertaining.
Yeah, they are also lucky. This is the other thing I was going to say. They're also so lucky that Jon Favreau, the man that just happened to launch the MCU for them, the man that directed Iron Man, just happened to be a massive Star Wars fan and happened to love everything Dave Filoni was doing. Because
No kidding.
Mandalorian would not have gotten launched. It just wouldn't have happened. And so, this is why I'm bringing it full circle. Rebels Season 1 is significant it's as significant as it is, because it really, we wouldn't have had the future of Star Wars, and we would not have brought the fan base back together had they not kept Dave on the team to keep those family films. And that was like their first step. It was like, okay, Dave, you go make some family, shows, and we're not going to bother you. That was the important thing. They didn't bother him. They didn't interfere. They were like, Dave, we trust you. You did the Clone Wars for George back in the day. We're going to keep that as canon because it's beloved. You make another family show. We're not going to bother you. We don't care what you do with that.
In Filoni, we trust.
Yeah. And that was the other thing. And they're lucky that they had all these writers that were listening to Dave and consulting with Dave. And that was one of the cool things Dave said. He was talking in an interview about E.K. Johnston wrote the Ahsoka novel and all that. And this is cool. He's like, nobody can actually legally touch Ahsoka without talking to me. Like, so if anybody wants to use the Ahsoka character in any project, they have to go through Dave. I think that's
amazing.
I think that's cool that they gave him charge of that character. Like, legally, they have to go through Dave.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that because Ahsoka is one of the best created in Star Wars.
That's why he directed this last episode of Mando, I think.
I'm curious as to how many more episodes he's going to direct now.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, you want my honest opinion? I think they're going to give him an Ahsoka series. I think after the reaction today, and I don't know if you've been online, it's been overwhelmingly positive.
I've been busy with fucking Black Friday stuff at work.
Fair enough. I'm going to tell you right now, the reaction to this Ahsoka character has been overwhelmingly positive. I think that this is what they were waiting for to give Dave the green light on this Ahsoka series. I think he's going to do it. I think he's going to do a live action Ahsoka series. I think we're going to get.
I would love that. Hold on, now where's it going to continue from?
I think it's going to be Ahsoka looking for Thrawn. I think that might be the direction they go.
I would love to see a couple prequel episodes of what happened between Rebels and now.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think it's going to like be future and past. Like, I think they'll go back and forth between it because they'll probably show what happened right between Rebels and Mando, and then after or post this episode of Mando, her going out to see Thrawn.
I think what they might do is they might show her chasing after Thrawn, and in the moment she finally finds him, like she's about to fucking get him, but he loses grasp of him somehow, and that's when they do flashbacks.
Definitely, it would be super.
I think that would be neat.
That'd be super duper dope. I would love that, man. Love that.
I would love to see a Ahsoka series, and I would love to see a Maul series. Those are the two big things I would love to see.
Maul and Kira, man, you got to bring Kira in there. I'm telling you, I love that character. I want more of her with Maul. I think that the best story to
That'd be a fantastic idea.
Mm-hmm. We'd see what happened between Clone Wars and Rebels, or Solo and Rebels, really. Yeah. I mean, it would be amazing, and to see how Maul ended up where
by technicality, Solo's in between is between Clone Wars.
Yeah. I mean, still, I want to see how Maul ended up where he was at in Rebels, which we'll get into in a future episode. Hey guys, listen, we are so far away from this season of Rebels, but my point was, Dave, luckily, he was making this and planting the seeds for what their future could possibly be. And I don't think, honestly, when they had him go work on your family show, I don't think they thought for a second that this would be the future of their franchise. But genius, genius, man.
And Dave, we trust.
And Dave, we trust indeed. All right, guys, this has been another episode of Dom. What show are we on here? Dom's Corner. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I was like, what are you talking about?
I did 2 shows today. So Dom's Corner, and make sure you go check out Dom's Solo as well if you want the breakdowns on The Mandalorian I've been doing with Josh Richards. Josh has been a trooper, getting up real early with me and watching these and doing the breakdowns to get them out before most channels have. So it's been pretty. We've been pretty fortunate on that end. So yeah, thank you guys for joining. I've been Dom Martino. Ian, where can the people find you? And thank you for joining.
Of course. Do you mind if I put a quick disclaimer about last week?
Oh yeah. If you want to make a statement about that, I'll let you do that real quick too.
Yeah. So I'll list where I you can find me. I do want to apologize for setting the mood. I watched a little bit of the episode yesterday. Okay. I do want to apologize for setting the mood in the very beginning to be kind of upsetting. I want everybody to know that I'm doing fine. My family's doing fine. Just kind of hit me hardest Wednesday. Because I just kind of realized I was like, I'm never gonna, see him again. But I want to point out that in times like these, Adam and Dom have both lost family members around this time. I know a lot of you have, and it hurts, but I want you all to know that, they're in better places, and we're here, now living in a time where it's kind of hard to get through. It's kind of hard to deal with things going on in our world, but I feel like you just need to keep your head held high with positive vibes, and just knowing that, you do have other people around you that love you, and that you need to live on in a happy place with people passing. Just know that they'd want you to be happy. They'd want you to be in a happy place. So I think that I want to apologize for setting that mood to be kind of upsetting. Now, again, I'm doing fine. My family's doing fine. Just kind of hit hard for that moment. He was in his 80s, so it was bound to happen. Um, but if any of you were curious, that's kind of where we're all at. I love you guys. I don't know any of you, but I love you all. We're all family in this. But other than that, again, I'm sorry for that setting at the very beginning. I probably should have just kept it to myself, but I didn't know how to handle it at that moment. So anyway, you can find me at Jutacular Ian on either Instagram or YouTube. And if you really feel the need to hit me up on Facebook for some reason, I'm horrible at messaging people, but you can find me at Ian Joseph Schick.
All
So
right.
that's it.
Well said, man. Well said. Very professionally well said.
I was
Wonderful.
kind of shaky on it, but
No,
thank you.
dude, I really think that was awesome. I want to end it there, guys. So you can follow me. My social media will be in the description below. And be sure to to catch us again on Wednesday. This has been
Happy
Dom's
holidays.
Corner. I've been Dom Martino. Happy holidays indeed. Bye bye.